All right, welcome everybody to our continuing series on Hilchot Deot, the laws of character traits in the Rambam. And just to recap, the Rambam tells us there are two levels. There's Derech HaChamim, the ways of the wise, and there's Derech Hasidim, the ways of the pious. So he says the ways of the wise is to find the average between the extremes of the trait, and always work into the average, what's called the golden mean. Right? So for example, he says, don't be too angry, and don't be so calm like a dead person doesn't react. Find the middle path. That's a Chacham. The pious person would always move to the side of one extreme, which is the extreme of good, which is he'll be less angry, even though he's allowed to get angry to the middle, to the medium, he'll be less angry than that. So that's a pious person. Or to be too generous, not to be too generous, and not to be too mean. Find the middle average of the trait. A pious person would find to be more extreme on the side of giving. The average person would be in the middle. The pious person would go to the extreme. So we defined two different levels in character traits: the ways of the wise and the ways of the pious. So that is a very important idea, but the ideal is the golden mean, which is to find the average mean in all the traits. So obviously all the time try and be in the average mean, not too happy and not too sad, not too generous and not too mean, not too angry and not too calm. We're both going to find the average in the means. And then he continues, and we are in Halacha Vav. Okay. This actually is a verse in the parasha we just read. Our source over here is the source for this is in the parasha we just read, the end of Parashat Ekev. At the end of Parashat Ekev, the Torah tells us, "V'halachtem b'drachav." V'halachtem b'drachav. You will walk in God's ways. Let's try to find the verse very quickly. For those who were paying attention to the Torah reading yesterday, it's towards the end of Parashat Ekev. Find it quickly.
Deuteronomy 28.
What verse is it?
Deuteronomy 28:9.
Very nice. Here we are. If you will guard diligently this commandment which I command you, to love God, to walk in His ways. Here we are. And cling to Him. So how do you walk in God's ways? So Rashi says, he brings down the famous Talmud, you walk in His ways by copying His midot, the 13 attributes. How do you walk in God's ways? And the answer is we copy His attributes, and that is one of the sources for this halakha of the Rambam. To walk in God's ways and to cling to God. How do you cling to God? We're going to talk about to cling to those who know Him, to try and copy those who act like Him. And that is exactly where we base our. That's the halakha. That's the verse on which halakha number 6 is based on. Halakha Vav, the first chapter, is based on this verse in last week's parasha, in Parashat Ekev, the end of Parashat Ekev, in Shvi'i, verse 22. Kach lamdu perush mitzvazu. The rabbi said, the rabbis learned out from this mitzvah. Mahu nikra chanun, just like he is called chanun, which is grace, the middle of grace. Chen, chana is a beautiful name, which means grace. It's a word for a woman who's called Grace. So Grace became also an English name, also on Grace. So just like God is called grace, so we also have to be graceful, just like Hashem. Now, what is grace? So grace is a trait of giving with no idea of getting back, gratuitously. Giving gratuitously. A person gives with no idea of recompense. So that's grace. Giving for no other reason. When a person raises children, basically, there's no other thing you have to do it for. You do it for grace. You do it because you want to give, and if you think you're going to get something back, you got to forget it. Okay. You get a smile back, you're lucky. Okay. So that's just like Hashem is called Chanun, graceful. You have to be graceful. Mahu nikra rachum, God is merciful. You have to be merciful. Mahu nikra kadosh is the hard one. Just like God is holy, we have to try and be holy. Holiness is the hardest thing to achieve. And that's why when we say, Kadosh, 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 right? And the repetition of Shemona Esrei, we do Kiddusha, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. What do? We raise our feet, come down again. Why do we come down? The gravity is pulling us down.
Right.
Right? It's hard to be holy. We try and be holy, then you come down again. Kadosh, you go up a bit more, come down again. You go up a bit more, and you come down again. And that's life. Life is we're climbing, and we go down, and we climb. And the big difference between a Rasha and a Tzaddik is, a Rasha, every time he falls, he doesn't want to get up again. He says, I can't do it. I'm not going to get up. A Tzaddik, it says, falls and climbs again. Falls and climbs again. Never give up. A Tzaddik never gives up. We always have to climb that ladder. And I compare Judaism to shoots and ladders. Exactly, shoots and ladders. The game shoots and ladders. It's a spiritual game of shoots and ladders. What does that mean? That means you're doing mitzvah, 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 lashon hara, mitzvah, 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 and whoops, and same. That's life. That's life. The only thing is you've got to climb higher than you go down. That's the technique.
Slide
is just
down rapidly.
go down the small shoots. Don't go down the big shoots.
Right.
The only problem is we don't know what the small shoots are, what the big shoots are. That's Pirkei Avot says. We don't know the reward for a mitzvah. That's our trouble. We don't know what the reward of mitzvah. Some mitzvah look very easy and they look very small, and you think a small reward. No, it's a very big reward. How do you know? Shiluch haken. Send away the bird before you take away the baby. It's such an easy thing to do, if you have an opportunity. And then kibbud avayim is a very hard mitzvah, and it says the same reward for both of them. It's very hard to know what God wants in terms of rewards. That's why what does the Pirkei Avot say? And then it says, don't worry, even figure it out. Just do the mitzvot.
Well,
Try and do the small ones and the big ones. You don't know which one's worth more in God's eyes.
Shiluch haken and kibbud avayim are
Very similar, yes.
Because you're respecting the mother bird the way you're respecting your mother.
Right, exactly. That's what Ramban says. You're respecting the institution of motherhood. By setting away the mother bird, not taking the baby in front of the mother, you're respecting the institution of motherhood, which is a very beautiful idea. That's the Ramban. Ramban says also you want to preserve the species. You want to take away both the mother and the baby, you might destroy the whole species. So there's a lot of different wisdom over here. What the reason is for truth is we don't know the reason. God doesn't tell us the reason. But God tells us the reward. We should have long life. No, amazing. So we learned this out from this verse which we had in yesterday's parashat Ekev. V'alachta b'drachav, you'll walk in God's ways and cling to Him. So Rambam tells us, he quotes the Gemara, what does it mean to walk in God's ways? Copy God's traits. Now, does God have traits? And the answer is Moshe Rabbeinu, he formed the 13 attributes. Where? In Parashat Kitisa. Parashat Kitisa, which is in Shemot, right? Parashat Kitisa, we read on the fast days. Every fast day we read Parashat Kitisa, where he is praying to save the Jewish people from annihilation because of the sin of the golden calf. He's praying to God to save the Jewish people from annihilation. What does he do? How does he pray? He says the 13 attributes. Kel, Rachum, Vechanun, Erech, Apayim, Rav Ches, Vebet. Right? Which we go through. So we have the mitzvah to copy. Now the Rambam says a very amazing thing. In Moreh Nevuchim he says, he didn't say these 13 traits because God has these 13 traits. He said these 13 traits because he wants us to know how to emulate God. Because if we don't have no inkling of what God is, we have no idea what God is. We have no idea. If a person says, I know what God is, he's a liar. A liar. Because we have no comprehension. Our minds are small. You know, I was learning in yeshiva, I had a friend of mine who would go like this. My mind is small. I can't understand what the rabbi is saying. He would go like this all the time.
Oh, for himself.
For himself. He wasn't talking to me, he was talking to himself. My mind is small. So to understand Hashem, our minds are small. Our minds can't grasp. We can only grasp things which are physical because that's what we see, that's what we know. When the rabbis talk about esoteric topics, it's very hard to grasp what they're talking about. And that's why the danger of learning Kabbalah, because it's esoteric topics, but to understand it has to be brought down to a kind of material explanation. And to take it materially is misunderstanding, like the Sfirot. To think about spheres floating around, rubbish. Doesn't exist. These are all spiritual objects, but it's very hard for us physical beings to understand these physical objects. For example, if you ever read H.G. Wells, right, The Time Machine. So the guy goes forward in time and he comes back, he's trying to describe what he saw to ancient man. Now they have no idea what's going on. I can imagine you describe 200 years ago, you tell a person, you'll be able to see people and talk to them and...
They look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, they'll think you're crazy. And so same thing, imagining worlds which are spiritual worlds, we have no grasp. So Moshe Rabbeinu gives us a grasp. He said, these are the 13 attributes of God, which Rambam says he made up. What do you mean he made up? He got this prophecy. How do you explain to man God? So 13 attributes. Why do we need these 13 attributes? So that we will know what to do. We will know how to grow. We will know what to copy. What attributes do we have to follow? So it's a technique that Hashem gave us, this technique to be able to appreciate Him. But the truth is, He doesn't have these traits. It's like God has a finger and a hand and an eye. The Torah gives all kinds of human distinctions to God, which are not true. These are metamorphisms. It's metaphoric. It's not to be taken literally. So similarly, we have to try and follow these ways. Chanun, Rachum, Kadosh, holy. How do you become holy? What is holy? Holy is separating oneself from excess, Ramban says. Separating oneself from excess, Ramban, even though it's allowed. That's Ramban, Nachmanides. Very, very radical Nachmanides, not to use bad language. What does the Torah say not to use foul language? Ramban says, Kedoshim to you, be holy. Holy means not using foul language. Holiness means not eating too much, Ramban says. Not to be a kosher pig. What is a kosher pig? You keep kosher, but he eats like a pig. That's the kosher pig. So there's all different levels. Rashi says, being moral is being holy. If you're moral, you don't fool around with all the prohibited relationships, that's holiness. So we have to try and be holy. It's hard to be holy today. And similarly, the rabbis, the prophets, he says, the prophets of God, gave us these kinuim, gave us these descriptions of God. Erech Apayim, slow to anger, just like God is slow to anger, a person should be slow to anger. Rav Chesed, a lot of kindness. Tzaddik, righteous. Yashar, straight. Tamim, simple. Gibor, mighty, which we said, Ezu Gibor and Kovish Yitzro, control oneself. Chazak, strong, and so on and so forth. Why? So Rambam tells us. Not because these are the traits of God. These are things that the rabbis used to describe God. Why? Leodia shehen derachim tovim. To tell us these are the good ways. Visharim and straight paths. And it's obligatory on a person to do these things. It's obligatory on a person to do these things. So we have an obligation to do these things, and so that we can be godly. Wow. How can you be godly? How can you be godly? And the answer is because we have this mitzvah to cling to God and walk in His ways. So how does a person get to this level? How does a person fix their traits? Now we come to a very, very major technique. A very, very powerful major technique. And it's a simple technique which we use all the time, but we use it for bad usually. And that is the technique called habit. Habit. Habit is so powerful. Habit is a very, very powerful thing. And there's good habits and there's bad habits. As you all know, there's good habits and bad habits. And it's very easy to get into a habit. It's very easy to get into a bad habit. Very easy. And that's the job of a parent, a good parent, is to get their children to good habits. I still brush my teeth twice a day. I mean, my mother gave me that habit when I was a kid. And it just continues, right? You brush your teeth twice a day, you don't even think about it. Why? It's a habit. You get up at a certain time, you don't even think why you get up at that time. It became a habit, right? So you get up early, it became a habit, it's very hard to get up later. You get up late every day, it's very hard to break that habit. If you when you were a kid, you slept late on Sundays, it's very hard to break that habit. I know, I tried to do it. It's very hard to break that habit. If your parents let you sleep late, it's very hard to break that habit. So it's very good to get into good habits when you're young, and a person will continue. Where do we see this? Is a pasuk in Tehillim, a very, very important psalm, one of the Shir HaMalot. David HaMelech compares shooting an arrow to having children. He says, like arrows in the hands of the mighty warrior, so too is Bnei Neorim, children of one's youth. What's the comparison between arrows and children? And the answer is, once you shoot the arrow, it's gone. So the main thing now is to aim the child. Right. It's a very interesting analogy. Why? Because once the child's in your hands, and the whole purpose of the whole having the child in your hands is to aim the child. How do you aim the child? And the answer is, you give the child good habits. If you give the child good habits, the child just continues in the path you gave them. Usually. Today it's not so certain, but it's still maybe 80% chance the child will just continue in that way. But it's better than giving bad habits. The child's going to continue that bad way as well. So it's very important. So a beautiful idea. This idea that child is compared to a warrior drawing back his arrow. Kehitzim biyad gibor. Why? Another reason is because when you draw the arrow, you draw it closer to your heart. David HaMelech is saying, like a child, draw them close to your heart when they're young. If you give them a lot of love, they're going to cling to you and they're going to remember you and they're going to do whatever you say. The trick to raising children is lots of love. If you want to be successful with child raising, lots of love, but also guidance.
Right.
Trouble is today, people give lots of love, but they don't give guidance. And the children without guidance are lost. They're like weeds in the forest. They're growing like weeds instead of growing like a rose. You have to prune and you have to this and you have to cut and graft. There are all sorts of things you have to do to raise beautiful plants. Raising children is like raising a plant. The Jews are called the Garden of God. Shir HaShirim. Right? We're compared to rose. Keshoshana ben harakim. David Shlomo Melech says, Keshoshana ben harakim, like a rose among the thorns. We are like compared to a rose between the thorns. Why? What's a rose? It takes a lot of pruning, a lot of effort. Hashem is always pruning us. You see how much Hashem has done for pruning us with hardly any of us left. We were talking about yesterday in our history class. At the time of the destruction of the Second Temple, there were 2 million Jews in Iraq. And that was 1/6 of the Jewish population in the world. I mean, it's hard to understand. There were 12 million Jews in those days. How many Jews today? Around 12 million. We haven't grown. We're being pruned constantly. You think Jews would be better today? Are they better today? I don't know. I don't want to decide. I don't want to say. But we don't learn our lessons. We just don't learn. That's why it's so important to learn our history. Learn our Bible. Learn our history. Jews don't know anything about their own history. They don't know anything about their own backyard. They're busy doing other things. So at least we're here, and we're here. All of us are here, which is very, very important. Very good. So you have to. Your mission is to spread these little ripples in the ripple tank. Your mission is to spread the ripples. What you hear from me, you spread it around. Spread the ripples. So how does a person change themselves? And the answer is, he says, very simple. Habit. How do you change something? Yaseh v'shaneh v'shalesh. 3 times. If you do something 3 times, in Jewish law it's called chazakah. Chazakah means a habit. It's a habit. It becomes a habit. So can you imagine a person, he wants to do something, he wants to wake up late. Says, you know what, I want to train myself to wake up earlier. How does he do it? So instead of thinking, just do it. Wake up early. Get up 3 times. Day after day. Earlier, you get the habit. So it's a very important idea. To change oneself, it requires acting. Thoughts will not change you. Actions will change you. What you do will change who you are. And not only that, it will change how you think. That is the beauty of the system. The beauty of the system is, if you do the mitzvah, hopefully the mitzvah will change who you are. If you don't do the mitzvah, just think about the mitzvah, it's not going to change who you are. If you do the mitzvah. So a person gives tzedakah, it's going to make the person a kind of person. The person thinks, you know what, I know what tzedakah is, I learned all the philosophy of giving tzedakah, and it's a very good thing, just don't have the chance to do it. It's not going to change the person. So it's not going to make the person a better person. It's called behavior modification. Today we know it's a field of psychology. The behavior changes the person inside. The behavior that a person does changes the person inside. That's our whole idea. That's what Rabbi tells us is the most powerful tool of character change is habit. Change the way a person acts, and they will change the way the person thinks.
Right, Joel Levy used to say, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, okay.
What did you say?
Fake it till you make it, but I don't believe it. It's not faking. It's not faking, it's actually doing. Doing is not faking. So what it means is, even though your heart is not in it, your heart will get there eventually. Mitoch shelo lishma, balishma. So eventually the process, just by doing mitzvah, acting as if you're doing it, just doing it will create that spark inside. But a person never does it, never get the spark. And that's what David HaMelech says, Ta'amu uru ki tov Hashem. Taste and see how good Hashem is. If you don't taste it, you don't see it. If a person never tasted Shabbat, he'll read all the books about Shabbat. Okay, sounds very nice. We get a day off, we eat a lot of food, sleep. It sounds very good, right? You go to shul a little bit, listen to the rabbi, go sleep as well. And whatever. So it sounds good, but I've never done it. So a person will never taste it Shabbat. You know, there's a beautiful story in the Gemara. The Gemara says that we know that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was very friendly, which eventually with Antoninus. Mm-hmm. And Antoninus eventually becomes the Roman emperor. And one day Rabbi invited the Antoninus to his house. He goes to Rome, and he sets up a house over there, temporary vacation, and he invites Antoninus to his house for Shabbat meal. Imagine. So the next, he's going to be emperor. He comes to the Rebbe's house for Shabbat meal. He says, food is out of this world. Out of this world. He says, Rebbe, he says, you got to give me the recipe. What do you put in this food? It's so good. So Rebbe gives him the recipe, and Antonius cooks the same food in his house. Said, you lied to me. You left out something. And Rabbi said, you're right, I did leave out something. It's called Shabbat. The food on Shabbat, and if you have the leftovers of Shabbat, they don't taste the same. Not only because they're stale, but also because they don't taste the same because of Shabbat. Your mind is somewhere else. Your food is a different level. It's holy, it's special. So it's a mind-body connection. If you do the action, it's going to change who you are, change your perspectives on life. So that's how he says, how does a person change their character? By acting is in a certain way. So a person says, I got a bad temper. How do you change your bad temper? And the answer is, you change your bad temper by not getting angry. 3 times in a row at least. So you tell your friend, now make me angry. Oh boy, so hard. It's so hard. Try and get the guy here.
Well, you delay your words until a week later, and then you can write them down.
It's so hard. It's so hard to delay. And that's the key. The key of losing temper is to delay it. I'm going to react, but not now.
Well, if you tell your friend to make you angry, then you're violating the law of Yadei Nisayon, the law of Yadei Nisayon.
You're right. But I want to train myself. How am I going to train myself? I don't get it. And that's the whole idea. That's why God tests a person. God tests a person. Why did God test Abraham? God knows what Abraham's going to do. For Abraham's sake to grow. But we pray every day, don't test us, Hashem. It's like I'm doing a test on myself. You're allowed to do tests on yourself. I'm trying to test how I will react in certain situations. I'm trying to train myself. So training is okay. You're allowed to train yourself. So, but any person who has a family, a spouse, will be trained by themselves. Don't need to train anyone. They're going to train you. And that's the whole purpose of getting married, is to train yourself. Is to fix your personality. And that's what a kala, the definition of a kala, people don't know. What does a kala mean? Anyone know what a kala is? We translate it as a bride. Wrong!
Come from cold?
No, it comes from kala. What is kala? B'yom kalot et mishkan. On the day they completed the mishkan.
Oh,
A kala is the completion of the man. She completes him.
First didn't
If you want to be nasty, she finishes him off. She finishes him off. In a good way, hopefully. Sometimes she finishes him off in a bad way. She finishes him. She completes him. The kala means completion. A bride is not a bride. A bride is a completion.
I think it's a start, Rabbi.
It's a start, but it's completion. But what do you mean completion? Completion of what? Completion of the traits of the person. Without the wife, the man is egocentric. See these single men? That's egocentric completely. They don't think about anything else. I know I have a friend like that. He's going on a cruise, he's going here, he's going there. Doesn't have to worry about anything. And he enjoys himself. That's it. Bottom line, enjoyment. He's thinking about his stocks, his bonds, the investments. But you don't realize your best investment in life is kids. And you can't have kids without getting married, not yet. And you have to get married. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. Prove have to get married. He needs a wife to finish him off. It's a complete person. It's a completion. A wife is a completion. Is a kala is a completion. Your mission, spouses, is to complete your husband. Means in a good way, to make them better people, to elevate them, to get them better midot. So the husband loses his temper. He says, the wife says, "Sorry, I'm just testing you." You know the famous joke. The story is that this guy was looking for a wife, so he goes out with this girl. And he's driving her to the restaurant, and on the way, they stop at a red light, and she takes his keys away from the ignition, she puts out the car. And so the light changes, and people behind him are angry and honking, and he says, "Please, can I get my keys back?" So here they are. He said, "What are you trying to do?" He said, "I'm just testing how bad your temper is." So it was the last time he went out with her. He doesn't want a wife who's going to test him every time. But not every day, but these things happen. How are we going to lose our tempers? How are we going to perfect ourselves? So test is every day there's a test inside the family. There's tension and there's pressure. Today it's crazy. And there's this and there's that and all sorts of opportunities to fight, all sorts of opportunities. So the guy says, "I'm going to bite my lips." Or sometimes she has to say, "I'm going to bite my lips." And it's that biting of the lips is the biggest kapara, biggest atonement a person can get. It's worth more than anything else.
So then why are you teaching only the women? You should be teaching everybody.
I'm relying on you to teach the others. Okay. You're the trainers in the house. Women are the trainers in the house. You're the completers. Okay. Let's move on. We are talking about character traits And we're talking about how to improve a person, and the answer is the person's going to improve themselves. How? The way they act 3 times in a row. How do I apply my generosity, my newfound generosity? I want to be a generous person. How do I apply it? So 3 times in a row. You see someone in need, give. Someone needs a favor, do a favor. Someone needs this, they ask you a question, give them time. Someone needs to be cheered up, cheer them up. Yes?
It's really proven that it's 40 days to change a habit.
Okay.
40 days. Is that Stephen Covey?
It's interesting because...
It's like 40 years. is when-
okay, well the Rambam's giving you a shortcut. He says it takes 3 times. So obviously 3 times. Doesn't work, try another 3 times. Doesn't work, another 3 times, another 3 times, another 3 times, until it works. That's what we're saying. Start off with 3 times. If you tell a guy 40 days, the guy says, I give up. But 3 times, look, it's so simple. Make it simple. 3 times. Doesn't work, try again 3 times. The Asor Bahem Tamid, he says. And then continue in that path until these actions become easy for you. And they won't be hard for you. And this becomes part of your soul. The actions, the thoughts, the way behind it is going to be part of your soul. You're going to change your character. By the actions you're going to do, you're going to change your character. Amazing. This is way before behavior modification. This is the Rambam 900 years ago. Okay, so because these are the names of God that Moshe Rabbeinu gave them, these are the paths to the moderation. This is the path that we have to try and obligate ourselves to do. And this is called Derech Zu Derech Hashem. This path is called the path of God. Person becomes gracious, merciful, slow to anger. The path of God. You're following God's ways. That's the path of God.
Or they divorce.
And that's what Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu taught his children after him. Shemar ki dativ. I know him. God. I know God. And Hashem says, I know Abraham. He's going to teach his children after him to follow my path. What path he's going to teach his children? The path of good character traits. Amazing. It's so fundamental to Judaism, it's so overlooked today. How many yeshivot do you know of that teach children good midot? So my daughter's yeshiva had a midot program. I don't know, maybe every yeshiva has a midot program. Some yeshiva put a midot program in there. But how successful are these midot programs? How do you measure a midot program? How do you reward a midot program? It's so hard. So these are things which are hard to define. So usually we rely on letters from the parents. Like my daughter today, she did this, and she helped me in the kitchen, and those are good. It helps. Yeah, that's where you start. You start in the lowest grades. If you can teach a child from early age to have midot, it's going to continue. The children in early ages don't know how to have midot. It's very hard to change them later on. These traits are inculcated at a very early age. That's why early childhood today is so fundamental to growing. It's so fundamental. Sometimes it's better not to send your kids to the early childhood because they learn all the bad traits also from early childhood. It depends where you're sending them. It's very, very important. I mean, all the swear words I know came from school. I'm telling you, I mean, most people. So the school you send the kids to and the midot program in the school and what they learn, what they pick up. On the other hand, it's good to get an inoculation. What is inoculation? They put a little bit of the disease into you to form antibodies. So if you don't hear these words when you're young, you don't get the antibodies to these words, you go into the wider world later on, you're like, you're ready to be shechted over there. Or shecht the person over there. Or shechted means spiritually shechted. Because the person's not ready for the outside world, they get corrupted very easily. We see people, Tzatmer and others, who just go into the big world and they're lost. Corrupt. They got very easy. So there's a balance over here. It's very hard. We have to teach children there's a big world out there, but you have to be ready for it. And you have to know it's not always good. Don't be naive. You're in a different world now. I know kids who dropped out of yeshiva. They didn't want to leave yeshiva. They weren't learning Torah. They didn't want to learn Torah anymore. They got turned off. They didn't want to leave their little bubble of Jewish bubble, which is very interesting. They're telling the parents, listen, pay for the yeshiva education. I'm not going to use it, but I just don't want to go into the public school because I don't want to get out of this bubble, which is interesting as well. They want to stay in their little bubble. They know there's a danger over there. I'm not ready for it. Anyway, so this is a very important idea, this technique we talked about. Okay, now we come to the opposite. We're in chapter 2, moving on to chapter 2, halakha 1 for those who have the text, and you can download the text free on the internet. That's basically what you can get today. Choli haguf. The sickness of the body. How does a person know they're sick? How does a person know they're sick? So there's different ways, obviously. A person has a temperature, a person's stomach is gone, they have pain, different ways of sickness. But one of the ways is they just go off their food. The food which is,
You go after.
you go off food.
Off.
You know, the food, this good food tastes bad to you. Can't take it. No, I
Sweet,
don't like it.
taste sour, etc.
But it loses their sense of taste. And there are some kinds of sick people who desire food which is bad for them. Which is most people today. That's the kind of sickness,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
But he's talking about really bad food, like a person says, you know what, I want to eat dirt. I mean, who gets this? But what is it? We're going to see the comparison. So, and the food which is good for them, they don't eat. He says, so too people who are sick in their souls. How do you know a person's sick in their souls? What are they running after? Sick in the soul. Imagine soul sick people. How do we define them? Soul sick. Most people today are sick in the soul. How do they know? Depression. If it's not chemical, it's because there's a sickness in the soul. The soul is not happy. If it's chemical, obviously it's chemical. But if it's not chemical, it's a person's got to work on their munah. A person's got to work on their insides to make themselves happy. So that's what he's talking about. Is there's a sickness of the soul. How do we know? Because they run after things which are evil. A person runs after evil, it's a sickness of the soul. If Hitler wanted to kill people, that's because he's a sick man. His soul was sick. Murderers, sick people. What do you mean they're sick? I mean, society always classifies people as sick. What do you mean they're sick? They're sick of the soul. So it's, what do you mean sick in the soul? And the answer is their character traits are faulty. The character traits are faulty. It's amazing. Today you find the news. There's a guy who killed his mother and his sisters with a hammer. Mad. Obviously he's mad. Is he mad or is he evil? So if he's mad, he's mad. But if he's evil, he's evil. So what's evil? Evil is sick in his soul. That's evil.
That's for Rosh Shtut, it's both.
Rosh Shtut.
Women tend to poison.
It depends. Ooh.
Yeah, they do poison. Men do the violence.
I know. Okay. Men are the violent and women poison. Okay, that's a different perspective. Okay. Should finish him off. What do you want? All right.
Traditionally, women use poison.
Yeah, there's 3 rings. What are the 3 rings? I don't say this. I'm fed up with these wedding jokes. Okay. They're not positive. They're always negative. They're always negative jokes. I don't know why. Why is society so anti-marriage, you know? It's an anti-marriage society we're living in. There are all these jokes about marriage. The truth is, marriage is the best institution there is. There's no other institution of purity.
It depends who you marry.
There's
It's
no
the mother-in-law
other institution where of purity in the world. In other words, one man, one woman, monogamy is purity, is holiness. That's holiness. The definition of holiness in Judaism, one man, one woman is holiness. Anything else is unholy. A single man is unholy. Single woman, unholy. It's bound to cause problems. Holiness is only through marriage. How do we know? The high priest on the holiest day of the year had to be married. Had to be married. If he wasn't married, he couldn't be high priest. Very simple. Someone else will take over.
Really
Rabbi,
opposite of Catholicism.
It says if his
There's a
wife
shit
dies on Yom
problem.
Kippur, his assistant takes over.
Right.
you know there's a
Again,
shit
another
problem now.
There's no shit problem. The problem is mental problem. There's something wrong with the clicker. Rabbi Avigdor Miller says. The 50-year-old man comes to him. He says, "Rabbi, I've been out with hundreds of girls and nothing clicked." There's something wrong with your clicker. There's something wrong with the clicker. That's the problem. The problem today is the clicker. What does it mean clicker? What's a clicker? What is that clicker? People are scared to commit.
Right.
To commit, and they want 100% of what they want. And when they get 100%, they're scared. So they find some excuse. It's a terrible. I can't take it anymore. I don't want to talk about this topic. It's a very painful topic for me.
You never get 100%.
You can never get 100%. I keep saying the same thing. If you get 70%, be happy. If you get 70%, be happy. Because marriage is a work in progress. Marriage is a work in progress. You get 100%, then 2 days later you wake up and say, hey, it's already 95. And it comes to 80, and it comes to 70. What happened over here? And the answer is you never get away. It's a marriage is a work in progress.
When the husband passes away, if you were in love and truly committed, the marriage continues.
Yeah.
Does not stop.
Okay. So a person's got to work on the marriage. It's not just you get married and that's it. Happy and they lived happily ever after. It doesn't work like that.
Only in Disney movies.
Yeah, I know. Even Disney movies today doesn't work. Life is it's changing so much. Okay,
If you don't have stumbling blocks on the way, you cannot recommit and continue.
you have to grow. Marriage is a path of growth and interaction. Any human interaction. If you want to be sweet and calm, go into live in a cave. Live in a monastery.
Oh, you have such a wonderful wife.
I'm not talking about myself. I'm saying in general. A person wants to be calm, marriage is all about tension. The marriage is all about the tensions and the things and getting over it and conquering it.
No, the problem is the children. They want to cause insanity in the parents.
I'm saying children out of the house even worse.
Yeah.
Things get better. Then you get on each other's nerves.
Small children, small problems. Big children, big problems.
Yeah, okay. But don't worry, there's always issues. The main thing is enjoy it. Enjoy life. Enjoy your relationships. Tell your spouse, why do we waste our energy fighting? Let's put our energy towards constructive causes. We can enjoy life so much together. It takes a lot of wisdom to be able to get to that level where you can talk to each other and say, listen, why are we wasting our time and energies in opposing each other instead of just being constructive and building together? Let's work together.
And the words are, this too shall pass.
Yes. Okay. So some people are sick inside. What do you mean? How do they get sick inside? The answer is their character traits are corrupted.
You what?
Character traits are corrupted.
Oh,
That's the spiritual sickness. What is the definition of spiritual sickness? Character traits are corrupted. They desire the wrong things. Their anger is out of control, right? They can't control their anger. They can't control their generosity. They're too mean or they're too generous spendthrifts. They can't control their spending. You see that today. How many problems are caused? The guy's a drug addict, or he's a gambler, or he's this. First question they ask when you go to hospital. You do drugs? No. You drink? No. What's wrong with you?
You smoke?
You smoke? No.
You have sex?
Strange. It's strange. Do you have AIDS? No. You're a strange guy. What do you do? Don't ask. Okay. All right. Let's go. So, it's a sickness of the soul is sickness of the character traits. The character traits are sick. That's what it means. And that's what sickness of the soul is. So what does that mean if I was too lazy? That's the sickness of the soul. What do you mean sickness of the soul? Character traits. One of the character traits is, are you going to be active? Are you going to be passive? You've got to find the medium. Not too active, not too passive, find the golden mean. What's the term today? It's the hyperactive kids, right? ADD, ADHD, the hyperactive. It's not good. On the other hand, to be too passive, you have very passive kids, don't do anything. Also not good. You've got to find the balance between the two.
Once you kill afterwards, because it seeds inside them.
Okay.
Eventually you're up.
Similarly to the prophet Isaiah says about these people with evil character traits. They say about evil it's good. They say something good is evil. Everything's upside down. Sodom was the classic example. Sodom. If you rob, you're a tzaddik. If you rob from, you're a rasha. The plaintiff comes to court, you're guilty. You're not guilty. He stole from me. Yeah, he's right. You're wrong. The guy gave charity. The woman who gave charity, they put her on the roof. They put honey on her, let the bees eat her. They killed her. You give charity, you're wrong. Why? In God's world, you don't give charity. That was their idea of God. God created a person who's poor. He's meant to stay poor. You're going to change God's system, you're wrong. You're guilty. So they had a totally different vision of the world. That's evil. They said about evil it's good, and about good it's evil. Amazing. And that's the evil. That's evil. That's the epitome of evil. That's evil midot. That good midot become bad midot. You're generous, you're mad. You're violent and you're strong. Romans, the gladiators, right? They looked up at the killing. The killers were the heroes and the murdered were the evil. A mad system, a crazy system. And that is the sickness of a soul. That is the sickness of the soul. That's why Yeshaya was talking about the first temple period. Right? They say that bad is good and good is bad. I mean, we don't know what Jewish society was like in those days. I have no concept what Jewish society was like in those days. There were 7,000 people, the prophet Elisha says, 7,000 people, or Eliyahu, he says, 7,000 people at a time in the northern kingdom who never bowed down to Baal. Out of all the Jews in the northern kingdom, 10 tribes, 7,000 never bowed down to the Baal. What does that tell us? 7,000 Jews only never bowed. Most of the Jews were bowing down to the idols.
Right.
It was so hard to be good in those days.
How many people were there altogether?
Millions.
But Rabbi, doesn't it also depend on the society where you're living?
Yes, everything depends on society. We are corrupted by those around us.
Yeah, sure.
So the morals of society are our morals, become our morals. We adopt the morals of society. That's the danger. That's why it's somehow.
No, I'm saying a bowing down.
Yeah, so it depends on the society around them. That's why God says in the Torah, don't leave them in your society. The idol worshippers and the pagans, because they're going to be thorns in your side, not physical thorns, spiritual thorns in your side. So they influenced you instead of you influencing them. They influenced you. Shlomo Melech, he married 1,000 wives. Most of them were pagans. He thought he's going to influence them. They influenced him. You can't. No man is an island. Who said that? That's a concept. No person is an island. What does that mean? We're all influenced. We can't say I am an individual, nothing's going to influence me. We're going to be influenced by those around us. Everyone is influenced. We talked about that was our first class, right? Where does a person get their traits from? What about traits are learned from society? Peer pressure. So if you're surrounded by good people, you're surrounded by kind people, you're surrounded by generous people, that's very good. That's what we should be. Surrounded by in a good framework. If you're not surrounded by a good framework, we all have to go to work. Listen. And at work, there's all kinds of people there. And a person can be influenced. This guy's doing drugs. This guy's alcoholic. This guy's this. That guy's this. I have a guy I know, he became Baal Teshuva. His wife is not even Jewish. She says, I like this. What? I say, yeah, I like it because I see you Friday nights. I know, Friday nights are the night with the boys. The pub, they're full. So we don't really realize what's going on in society. We have to realize what we have. We don't see it. We don't realize how much goodness we have, and how much good we have we can build on. And
So does the wife convert?
no, but she likes it. She likes it better now.
She had her husband then.
She has a from husband.
Right. Shabbat is peace.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's okay. Shabbat is ironic because Shabbat could be the worst day of the week. If the husband and wife see themselves, they see each other only one day a week, and they fight that day. It's a disaster. It's a disaster because most of the husband and wife don't see each other. They don't have time to fight. There's a time to fight is Shabbat. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. That's why it's very important to get along. It's very important to get along. It's very hard to get along. And all the tensions of the week come out on Shabbat. So if your Shabbat table is not conducive to singing and happiness, and it's very, very important to build it up and work on it. People are tired. People are angry. People are tense. That's why it's good to have guests in the house. Certain things you can't do with the guests around. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, let's move on. A little drop. Okay, so what do we say today? We said number one is we have vehicles. The rabbis gave us vehicles. Moshe Rabbeinu gives vehicles on which to emulate. We emulate God, no less. We have to emulate God. Who is God? We don't know what God is. They gave us tools to emulate God. They gave us midot, God's traits. They gave us kinuim, which are nicknames for God, just to emulate God's traits. Yashar, Tzaddik. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't say that. Yashar and Tzaddik. These are other prophets gave us these terms to emulate God, to be righteous, to be straight, to be simple, tam. What I mean, simple in a sense that you're not evil. And number two, we talked about how to change one's traits. And we said the simplest technique is habit, forming good habits. Number three, we said behavior modification. It's what you do that's going to affect who you are. If you act in a certain way, it's going to affect how you think. Amazing, powerful. Number four, what do we say? Number four. Who's awake? Number four. Choli aguf, we said. We talked about the sickness of the soul.
Oh, right.
What is the sickness of the soul? A person desires evil. A person wakes up and he says, I have a desire for this thing. Oh, God. Your soul is sick. What do you mean my soul is sick? Well, your traits are sick. If you want to rob, you want to steal, you want to hurt, you want to kill, you want to do other things I can't even talk about, you're sick. Your soul is sick. So a person needs to fix their soul. How do you fix your soul? And the answer is your traits are your soul. You've got to fix your soul through your traits, because we can't reach our souls. We can't fix our souls. Our souls are through the traits. We can fix their soul through the traits. A person's personality is the interface between the body and the soul. We have to realize that. The personality is the interface between the soul and the body. Personality is the interface. Just like a computer has an interface between the memory and the other parts of the computer, the interface. So that's the traits are the interface. How does my body communicate with the soul? Through your traits. How does the soul communicate with the body? Through the traits. If the traits are evil, how do you communicate with the soul? The soul becomes affected. The soul gets infected. Obviously, the parts of the soul that can't get infected, the lower parts of the soul can get infected. And these things work, we said, sometimes from birth. Look at Cain. Cain was evil from birth. I mean, Cain killed his brother with no influences. Somehow he figured out, I'll give my brother a big beating. He didn't know, the rabbis say he didn't even know how to kill him. He thought he was just going to beat him. But he didn't realize his beating could lead to death. He never saw it before. The world never saw it before. See, he was so infuriated, so exasperated with his brother. It just shows that these things are inside from the beginning. From day one, they're inside a person. Feelings of inferiority, feelings of sadness, and feelings of exasperation. All these feelings, frustration, all these things are traits that we have to try and control our traits. We have to fine-tune these traits. So we get to the perfect system. The orchestra is now playing
It's
evenly.
not so easy.
It's not easy at all. It's a lifetime. I'm not making it easy. Am I making it easy? I'm making it harder. Because before, people didn't think about it, so it's easy. When you don't think about something, it's very easy. You start thinking about it, it's a very hard system. It's a very hard system, but the truth is, this is the truth. I'm just telling you, this is the truth. I mean,
Does he tell you how to improve?
we just told you. Number one is, you got to find the average.
It's not like baking a cake.
middle
Number
of-
two is, you got to find the,
But middle, I just said.
you got to get into good habits.
Right.
Number three is, you got to be around good people.
Yeah, but each one of these things
Yeah,
are.
you're right. Each one of them is a will. So what you do is, we have to give a list. I'm going to, Bezrat Hashem, remind me, I'll give you a list of all these traits, and every trait, try and keep a chart. Yes,
I think when you think about it, then you have freedom to change. If you don't think about it, then you don't change.
of course.
You have to
The
realize.
first thing is to think,
To give words to.
but not just think. It's an awareness right through the day. To be aware of these things right through the day. I'm going to stop here. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.